everyone, and welcome to another edition of Wendy Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, March 10th, and the weather is another sunny one with a high of 54. I hope some of you got outside yesterday. I did see people sitting outside in the afternoon and enjoying the weather, and I heard that tomorrow is going to be like 70 degrees, so enjoy it, because next week it's going to be in the 40s. So please, if you can, get outside, enjoy that fresh air, take a deep breath in, and get outside as much as you can. I had a very interesting start of the week. We're going to go to the visual for you guys. So Monday night, the rescue that I volunteer with called, and they said that they needed some help unloading the car because they were on their way back from North Carolina to bring back a bunch of puppies. So I went over about 8 o'clock on Monday night to Bonnie's house. She heads the rescue group. And she happened to mention while we were there that she did not have a foster family for one of the puppies. So we can zoom in on this cutie pie. So that's one of the dogs that she brought back from North Carolina. It's a boy. We think he's a Great Pyrenees Corgi mix, but you never know. It doesn't really matter, but he's so cute. And we think he's about a year old. So she didn't have a foster family, and he was just so sweet. So of course I texted my family while I was there. I said, is it okay? Can we? Because I have, as everybody knows, I have a very full house of pets. I've got my 3 cats, my 2 dogs, my 2 sons, and a husband. So that is a very full house. But my family was really great about it and said, sure. So we fostered him for one night. I call him Cosmo. But they said that his name was Benny from the shelter, but we kind of liked the name Cosmo. But we had so much fun with this puppy that night. We played, and as everybody who is a dog owner will know, puppies have a ton of energy. So it was just constant. It was really, really fun. So then the next day, yesterday, the foster family came and picked him up, and my whole family was really sad. From just 24 hours with this dog, my kids were just heartbroken. Our phones are filled with pictures of this dog from just one night encounter, but we were really happy to step in and foster him. So that was the start of my week. It was quite interesting. Let's talk about our meals for today. For lunch, we're serving jerk chicken. I don't really, does anybody know what the origins of jerk chicken, the name is? I don't know. I never understood why you're calling a chicken a jerk, but okay.
It's the name of the spice.
Oh, okay. We have a culinary expert here in the studio today. Okay, we are serving that kind of chicken with baked potato and braised cabbage with fruit cocktail for dessert. And for dinner, we are serving 4 bean soup with baked ziti and a zucchini medley with pound cake for dessert. So we hope you enjoy the meals today. We have one resident celebrating a birthday today, Eulogios. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but happy birthday to you. We also have one staff member celebrating a birthday today, and that is Marlene from nursing. And your birthday horoscope says, the more vocal your critics get over the coming year, the more convinced you should be that you are doing the right things. And even if you are not doing the right things, it's your life. And it's your privilege to make mistakes. So just make sure you learn from them. So my dad always used to say to me, no problem making mistakes, but don't make the big ones. So I always say to my kids, I make mistakes every single day. But I hope that I'm making the small ones and not like the big ones, because they're a little bit easier to resolve. So let's talk about this day in history. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell made the first phone call to his assistant, Thomas Watson. And he called him and he said, Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you. That was the first phone call. In 1902, a United States Court of Appeals ruled that Thomas Edison did not invent the movie camera. I guess that must have been a dispute in the day. In 1938, the movie Jezebel premiered, starring Bette Davis, Henry Fonda, and in 1951, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover declined the post of baseball commissioner. I think that would have been a fun job to take on. In 1960, the 17th Golden Globes were held, and Ben-Hur won Best Picture. In 1963, Pete Rose debuted with hits in his 21st at-bats in spring training. And in 1975, the Rocky Horror Picture Show opened at the Belasco Theater in New York City for 45 performances. Do you remember that? That movie? And did you guys, anybody ever go see the Rocky Horror Picture Show in the movie theater? And you throw toast, right? You throw toast at the screen?
I worked in a movie theater, and it was one of my first times working, and they drew a big V on my forehead for virgin.
Oh my God.
And you have to go at midnight.
Yes, yes. Allison, did you ever see the movie?
She's too young.
It's quite an adventure. You need to see it. So today is also National Awesome Day. And I thought that that was a perfect time to have today's guests in studio because they are both awesome. And it is also National Social Workers Month. So please join me in welcoming Ann Weisbrod, our Director of Social Services, and Rebecca Westall, one of our Resident Services Coordinators. And welcome to the show.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Great. So why don't we talk a little bit about both of your jobs here, what you do, and I'm just interested in how you got into this line of work. So Rebecca, maybe you could start us off and share with us how you got on this career path.
Well, it was a second career for me.
Oh.
So I worked for the first 27 years of my career in what used to be called activities and recreation therapy, but here is called therapeutic arts and enrichment programs. And then my last job in recreation was working for the Girl Scouts as a camp director for 8 years. And while I was there, I got more involved with the family lives, and I went back to grad school working for the Girl Scouts. And so that was, I graduated in 2018 and started looking for a job, and I applied to many places, including here, and I've been here since 2018, since November of 2018.
That's a great transition, though, in terms of careers, because I would think that they're integrated in some, having that background probably serves you well as a social worker, no?
It does, absolutely, it does. And if I went the other way, if I went back into working in recreation, having social work skills would also help.
Right.
In the other direction, yeah.
Right.
And I also had many years of long-term skilled nursing, experience. Because the first 15 to 20 years I worked in long-term care.
When you were in therapeutic activities?
Yes.
Oh, terrific.
That's where I started.
Anne,
Yeah.
tell us about how you became a social
I just have
worker.
to go back to one thing.
Yes.
There's another great expression about mistakes.
Yes.
So, no mistakes, only lessons. Or, just to keep that in mind as well.
That's a great one.
Anyway,
Love that.
Yeah, it's a little cliche, I guess, how I got into social work, but I had a grandmother who was in a nursing home for the good part of my life that I remember, at least, not when I was a little kid, but during my teen years, and we spent every single Sunday visiting her in the nursing home, and I got very involved, even, I think I was maybe 13, 14 years old, in just what was going on her floor. Besides with her, I think I just became like a little bit of a mini social worker at the time. And so when I graduated college, I decided I wanted to go into the field of geriatrics. And you would think I'd be used to this from resident council. I wanted to go into the field of geriatrics. So for the first year after I graduated college, I worked in what was called, I don't even know if they still have it, supportive housing, which is kind of like an assisted living, but we're talking a long time ago. And I went to grad school, and I made them promise me that my field placements would only be with an older population, which was not something they wanted to do, because they like you to get a well-rounded background, but I insisted, and that's what they did. And I graduated grad school. I applied for a job. I got this job, and I have been here ever since. So it's really my only social work job.
How many years have you been here?
33.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Took a little break, a couple of breaks here. But
Wow. So what's a day like in the life of a social worker here at the Heber Home? it's probably different every day, I would
I
think.
was just going to say it changes every day. So I wanted to go back for a second because I
Sure.
didn't answer part of your question. So one of the reasons I myself also went into social work was because of my experience with other social workers. You know, working with them, experiencing them helping as a caregiver myself for my dad, and also, you know, therapist. It's just, they have, I used to think they have this superpower of being able to say something, like things need to be spoken about. And in social work school, they teach you ways to speak about things that other people have a very hard time doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted that superpower, so I went to grad school. A typical day, when I first started working here, people would say, "What do you do at work?" And
Right.
it was hard to answer because there's so many different little things that you do. So then I started saying, well, you know when someone says, you know, you got a plumbing job, and they say, "I know a guy." And they say, I know a guy. Well, we're the guy. That's who we are. And, you know, whatever people think of what they need, it could be anything from complaining about hard broccoli bits to end-of-life discussions in a given day. You know, so it changes every day, which is one of the best parts about the job. It never becomes routine.
And I would think that the relationships that you form with our residents must be, and finding solutions for those needs must just be the most rewarding part of what you do, you know, that interaction that you have each day.
So, yeah, and not just the residents, but with the staff, because sometimes people have amazing skills in their field, but they are, you know, feel a little awkward expressing things, and so they'll ask us to help them discuss something with one of the residents or with a family member, and sometimes the resident needs to speak about things that are hard, and they appreciate people who aren't afraid to have the conversation.
I think it's also, you know, incredibly rewarding because most of us see a resident here and this is all we see of their life, and this is what you start to think, you know, it's like even at work, you get to know someone only as a colleague. And when you see them out of work, it's like a whole different experience. We get to know the residents so that we get to know them in a way that we feel like we knew them before they came to the nursing home, that we knew their history, we know their history, we know what they were like as younger people, what their jobs were like, to form really that kind of relationship and be able to get to know that person in a different way is so, it teaches us so much. And also the work with the families is extremely important. You know, this is a very difficult, especially right now, a very difficult time for families, not being able to visit as it is with residents. And being able to be that person that families can go to try to just, you know, feel better, just try to resolve their own issues, try to resolve things with their relatives at the home, just help them negotiate and navigate their way through this maze is also very rewarding.
Yeah, and that actually is a good segue to talk about the family support group that you started and why and how that's been so helpful. Maybe you can share a little bit.
It's you know, we started a group. We meet twice a month, actually Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. Today is one of our meetings. And we felt that, you know, we're here for the residents so much and we were able to give them that kind of support. But families also need a lot of support. And we don't know that they're getting it necessarily. Everyone's stuck in their homes. They can't go anywhere. So we started a virtual support group. We have quite a few families that come on. It's interesting because it happens to be a lot of wives of some of our residents and a few daughters. And they're really able to talk about their own feelings in not having seen their relatives for a year, the changes that are going on with their relatives that they're not seeing every day, you know, so that they're a little bit nervous for when they do come and see their relatives. What are they going to find? You know, it's nice they get they might get FaceTime, they might do drive-ins, but it's a different experience than coming in and giving a hug. So they've really been able to talk about the feelings of loss, the feelings of fear, and they've also, which I always find as a leader of a group so amazingly rewarding, and it's amazing to me how this happens, they've started to come together, almost not even needing us as leaders. They give each other advice. And I love that about the group.
And so for our families who are watching, maybe just give a reminder in terms of when it takes place and how they can sign up for it.
So it's, as I said, twice a month. This month in particular, it's today, and then I think 2 weeks from now is, I think, the 24th. You can go on the website, and there's a place to sign up that tells you how to log into the group on the website. So we will, you don't need to let us know you're coming. Just sign up, and we're happy to have you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I sat in on one, and I plan to sit in on today's as well. Right? You have one this afternoon?
1 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, just really so supportive, and you and Evangeline have just such a way of helping people get through such a difficult time, and it's really amazing. And I definitely recommend people to join and sign up, because I think you'll get a lot out of it. So Rebecca, tell us some more about how things have changed for you with the closing of the campus. Have you found that your role has changed in any way in terms of working with the residents and families?
I don't think it's changed that much of working with the residents. The role itself hasn't changed. The intensity of the role might have changed, because one of the things that's really important is the entire world is experiencing this. Every time you turn around, there's something else that someone didn't get to do or didn't get to whatever. And there's so many people who haven't been able to see their families in a year, but it's an individual experience for each family. So that's really important, and that's really important, the support group that they do. It's important for people to remember that it doesn't help the individual to know it's happening to everybody. It's important that people get to talk about what they're feeling and what they're going through individually, and not, put it aside like, well, everyone else is going through it too. It's still really important to acknowledge what's going on to each individual. And so I feel that particular role of being the listener has become much more important, because people need to be heard. People need to hear themselves. Sometimes they don't even realize what they're thinking until they say it out loud to somebody else. Like, they don't organize their thoughts until they discuss it with somebody else. So I think that's become very important, letting people be heard and process this very hard situation we've all been in for a year.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how do you keep people's spirits up? Since it's been such a long time since they've seen their families, that has to be so, challenging to help our residents to do that. I guess just being a good listener, like you said, Rebecca, right?
Well, one of the hardest things you learn at social work is you can't fix everything. And, at first when you start doing social work and you're doing your field placements, you find someone who doesn't have a place to live, you want them to sleep on your couch. Right. You only have one couch, right? It's only going to help one person, and you're in it to help as many people as you can. So it's a hard lesson to know that you can't fix everything. And this past year has taught us that more than any other year in our lives. It's, you can list the things that are awful, but there's nothing, only way out is through. And I feel like our position gives people a little more strength to get through the storm until it's over.
And to some degree, I think, not just for the residents, but for us, even as staff, we've almost become each other's family, because, they don't, residents don't have their own families with them. We're not even seeing a lot of our own families, but yet we're all spending so much time together. And to some degree, I feel a little bit like, we've become the resident family for the residents, and the residents have become family for us.
Right.
And I think it's built, it's made those relationships even stronger. And I think even amongst the residents, the new friendships have been formed. And, just because all of a sudden people realize, let me talk to my neighbor. I haven't really done that, because I'm always seeing my family on the weekends, where I'm going down to activities, and I don't get to talk to my neighbor. But now we're kind of stuck together, and let's talk. And a lot of new friendships. People have told me that they've actually made some new friends during this year. So we've got to try to find some of the positives that we can. Not easy, but
right. Well, both of you and the entire team really are just incredible and inspiring, and just so important for our residents and our families, to help get through this. So thank you to both, and appreciate you guys being here today.
Thank
And a shout out to all social workers out there on this National Social Workers Month. You are appreciated and you have our gratitude. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
both
you
for
for
joining
having
us.
us.
Come back anytime. So before we close, we will do our usual programming notes. But before we get to programming notes, actually, don't go anywhere, because I did find some. I always find these fun trivia on the internet with our shows. So I looked up some interesting trivia about social workers. And did you know that more than 600,000 people in the United States hold social work degrees? Professional social workers are the nation's largest providers of mental health services. And there are more than 170 social workers in national, state, and local elected office, including 2 U.S. senators and 4 U.S.
Wow.
representatives.
That I would not
I
There you
didn't
go.
know.
You see, you learned something at Good Morning Hebrew Home, right?
I also learned about other things this week, other trivia you
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the need for social workers is expected to grow twice as fast as any other occupation, which,
That makes sense.
Right?
With everything going on.
right, makes
That's
sense.
awesome.
So, before we close today's show, let's just remind you of our programming notes. We have Jewish Ethics with Rabbi Noah at 11:15. We have Wellness with Deborah at 1:30. And we have Larry at 2:30. And if you want to see a rebroadcast of this show, tune in at 6:30. So thank you to Rebecca and to Anne for being here. Thank you to Catherine and to Allison for working the show, as you always do so beautifully. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in. We hope you enjoy the day. We thank you for spending a little time with us, and do try to get outside today. See you next time.